Two Pints in a Corner is a music history podcast about the Channel Club in Boston, Mass. Dinky Dawson and Tony Raine are your hosts. They interview channel performers and workers, bringing out stories and memories of the great music and events that came through this iconic South Boston venue. All right. Welcome to Two Pints in the Corner with Tony Raine and Dinky Dawson. Tony's away right now getting well, and so it's just me, and we're introducing Patrick Norton from the Channel days and from my days with Dawson Sound in the in the 70s. But here is Patrick Norton. Welcome to Two Pints in the Corner, Patrick.
How you doing, Dinky? It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you. We haven't talked for quite a while, and it's time. I think Chris is all set over there. I'm getting all kinds of waves and everything, so that means he's on form over there and what have you. And so anyway, I want to get started. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. I was watching what that clicking was, but anyway.
Oh no, I had to get up and move my cat.
That's what it is. You move your cat. That's Patrick.
Since I was going to be on the air with you, I went and I transferred that show that I did for you at the channel with Gladys Knight, and I recorded it somehow, and I transferred it onto my Logic Pro X.
Oh.
And I got that up, ready to go.
Oh my!
Oh yeah.
We're talking.
The cat likes to watch my TV, so she sits right in front of the TV.
Oh, that's what it is. Well, we've been talking about the other day when I asked Patrick to come on is a show he did for the AIDS community back in the 80s. I'm not sure exactly the date because in my database I don't have some dates like that, which is, benefits for the AIDS people. And this was a big event because it was also, what did you say it was? It was a fashion show?
It was a black tie evening gown affair fashion show.
Ah.
With a dose of Gladys Knight and the Pips on the side.
Well, how did that happen? Come on, tell me the whole thing.
Well, I got in there in the afternoon after you called me, and I got in there in the afternoon, and the band was going to go on the stage where all the equipment is permanently set, and people that were running it, the set designers for the fashion people, because it was their community they were putting it on for, and they came in and said there was these 4 or 5 little risers a foot tall that were over by where the mix position was, and that's where the models are going to come out and walk down. And they said, oh, no, we're taking the stage, and we're putting Gladys Knight on the little 1-foot risers. And I had to go up and take an amp out and take 4 monitors, set it up down there, plug everything into where the house board is plugged in, the electricity and everything. And then I ran off 2 sends off the house board to the 2 monitors.
Yeah.
And then I was going to do a mix with the main PA with the band still in front of it, but still, filling in the rest. And at the end, they finished their fashion show. And then there was, Gladys Knight started up. And things were fine. And all of a sudden, because they turned the whole stage into dressing rooms and stuff.
Oh, no.
So they and all these decorations and stuff, and they had a runway coming off the front of it that they put up. So then while they were tearing all their stuff down, all of a sudden they must have did something that blew all the power to the stage, lights, sound, everything. And the monitors are still working because they were plugged in where the house board was on a separate circuit. And I ran down to the thing, and because the club at night, they don't want people turning the PA off and on. They locked the panel, so I couldn't get into that. So I ran back to where they were set up, and I remember a trick that I learned from you when I first met you. And I was at we're at Paul's Mall, and we had a flood, and the PA went to Pope, and you turned the monitors around and faced them towards the audience. And that was the first night I met you. So when this happened to me years later, I took two of the monitors and turned them around and turned them into a little mini PA, and everybody was happy, singing and dancing, and didn't miss a beat.
I love it.
You know, it's
that's a sound, man. That's a good sound, man.
Well, the ability, you know, you have to adapt to some really strange situations sometimes.
Yes, you would.
But the thing is like I told you earlier, if you finish the show on one leg, at least you finish the show.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
No matter what, you got to do the show.
Yes,
you know?
no matter what. I love it, Patrick. You got some great stuff.
You know, and I don't know. I made a recording. I took an old cassette I found next to the board. I taped up the back of it, and I put the cassette in and recorded over some mixed music, you know?
Yeah.
I recorded the show, but it was a feed off the main console, not the monitor sends I was using. So it was like a totally independent mix from the actual show.
Oh, wow.
And I put my headphones on and did a little mix.
That sounds like you, Patrick.
Yeah, well, you know, but it was fun. It was a good night, and I learned a valuable lesson the very first night I met you.
You used it, and that's it. That's a good one. So, to tell us about any other the times that you worked there at the channel for me.
Well, you know, never mind. You opened up the place for charity events, and that was good, you know. But we also, I used to go in with some opening acts or local bands.
That's right. I remember that.
That were really good. And they had originals and stuff, and you gave local bands the opportunity to open for these headliners so they'd get exposure.
That's right. That's what the channel was all about.
Yeah, yeah.
So to experience one or two of those, I'm sure you got interesting with people there.
Well, you know, it was, you know, to me, I'd walk in, I'd mix, you know, and I was blind as bat, so I didn't even look at the band. I just listened.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And there was always a crowd. It was always full. And this one band, Secret Function, I used to bring in there.
Ah.
They were a tight little band. And who else? There was a friend of ours, Peter.
Peter?
Brain Block.
Oh, yeah. That was
well,
another...
he actually came in and did some work for you, too. But he had a band, Southbound. They were pretty good, too.
Yeah.
Well, so how you been? How's everything going with you?
Yeah, well, the people that the people that used to work for us there were people like Scott Perlman, Timmy Miller, Timmy Hines. Timmy Hines has passed on.
Great guy he is.
Timmy Hines or which Timmy Miller?
Timmy Hines.
Timmy passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago.
Oh, God. Him and I did a lot of shows together. He was the monitor guy, and I was the house guy. He was the house guy, and I was the monitor guy.
Yeah, he would do it all on the stuff because he was good at what he did, too, you know?
Yeah, he was. That's sad to hear. But, you know, at this age...
Yeah. Well,
you hear it a few times.
You can't.
But anyway, enough of that.
Yeah, so... I mean, because you were doing stuff with me for Lou Reed, and then what was the other guy, the little guy that you ran at?
Garland Jeffries.
Oh, that's it, Garland.
I did a couple of tours with him.
Yeah,
you know that first tour I did with the monitor system that you had there. I love that system, but boy, carrying that board around, oh my goodness.
Well, it permanently that board sat in the channel from the day we put it in as a monitor board until the day it went out in 1992. And it worked 7 days a week. and there was there was millions of knobs, thousands of knobs, and
It was a studio. But hey, it was a studio board.
Quality, but there was no numbers or that. You use your ears. You see, that's the whole point of being a sound person, is whether you're a man or a woman, it's a matter of using your ears. Today, a lot of people use the damn iPad. Well, what's that? You're talking to a computer, and the computer is setting the stuff for you, and that's not your ears. Your ears.
Dinky, when I met you, right, and I'm doing national acts at Paul's Mall Jazz Workshop, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to plug in a PA. The only thing I knew how to do was mix.
Yeah, that's right. At Paul's Mall, it was all set up.
And you just learn as you go along.
Yeah, and you work hard at it, because if you've got an inkling for it, like, you can mix. You know what you're doing when it comes down to a good mix. And that's because you've learned each frequency, each syllabus, each section. And then the bent men get you, and it's all over.
The bent now, God, I love them. I got to take them somewhere. But anyways, I remember, working with when Elvis Costello first came over.
Yeah,
and we did that show at Brown.
Oh, that's right. You did the show with me at Brown. That's right.
That monitor board that you took. Remember, you took one of your house boards from your original system, and I turned it into that 20 channel in, 8 outputs monitor board. Yeah,
and.
Back then we did 8 mixes on stage with no outboard EQ.
That was the older one, and then you got the newer one, which is the big one, which is the individual boxes that we could have put up there for individual musicians. They could do their own, but with it having the channel 7 days a week and all these people coming in like yourself to quickly do stuff, it never got cleaned out. It was always that you got in there and reset it yourself when you got in there. And you use your hearing, because there was no numbers to dial it on. And I love that. Because that big board, that monitor board, I remember that Alan Jeffries tour was the guys from Orleans were playing in his band. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he had Timmy Capella on sax. He had Davy Brown on guitar, Larry and Lance Hoppin, and Jerry Murata.
Wow, that's a band.
That's the band that I took your monitor system out with.
That's the good one. That's a good band. That's the fun people, because of Orleans, where I work with them, absolutely wonderful. And the harmonies, the playing, the 2 guitars, everything about it was just such warmth and feeling, and lots of love coming off that stage, which is important, and you're giving it back to them because you're creating with them. Whereas today, it's just a damn flash drive that creates everything with them. I'll
tell you, I ended up working with Orleans without John Hall, but then I worked with the John Hall band for 2 years.
Oh, that's right. You after everything and quit down and just.
And they had great harmonies also.
Oh, yeah. It's everything to do with John had harmonies.
Yeah,
and they go well with the particular music that he wrote stuff too. Like Still the One. Still the One is, to me, even though Larry's singing all that stuff, you've got Wells on the bottom end, and unfortunately, a lot of these people are no longer with us. Larry or Wells or a couple of people after that, because of ages, years, and traveling gets to you after a while, and what have you. And
it's just we all fall into the land of fate.
Well, that's why we did the channel. That's why I was doing the Cape Cod Melody Tent and the South Shore Music Circus, stuff like that.
I did. I did both of those with you.
Yeah, and
boy, I'll tell you, Dinky, doing those theater and the round things.
Yeah,
you got so many. You got a variety of different acts, and they're all top billed acts.
Oh yeah.
You did plays. All sorts of different type of mixings that you had to do. I had, funny when you do mix for a play, right?
Yep.
All you do is you read the book and you see where it says turn mic on, turn mic off.
Well, can you believe this? The first time we did, I think it was Hello Dolly at the Cape Cod. I'm not South Shore Music Circus.
Yeah.
The guy came with his book, and he said, "You got to mix the show." And I just mixed this of Carol Channing's 2 mics. I go, "You don't mix the show?" "No, I just mix her mics."
Yeah.
I says, you know what you're doing?
Yeah, well, just by reading the book, you have where they enter the stage and when they leave the stage, and you don't want to listen to what they're saying believe me, you don't want to hear what they're saying in the dress.
No, not at all. I've been there.
So you got to turn the mic off.
Yeah, definitely.
When they come, so that's why you just read the book when you're doing a play, because they have it all marked out when they leave the stage and when they come back on, and then they set up where you can do your cues with the tapes and stuff like that, and noisemakers.
Yeah, exactly, noisemakers.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff that people would love to hear, which they're hearing now, and you doing that thing for Gladys Knight and that was different.
What was that?
Old school can sing and play and everything because they played in the worst situation when they were going up, and even when they get to stars, they come back to that situation. And did you see many shows as well at the channel that you enjoyed other than working?
I tell you, at that time I was a new father with 3 kids, and
that's right.
That, and I was starting some businesses, and I got in there when I could, but unless I was working and getting paid, I didn't show up.
That sounds like you, Patrick. Oh, you had a bit of fun here, I mean, that's the.
It was just a great experience working with you.
Well, I mean, here with you too, Patrick, because I mean, you actually barreled down and did the jobs that you're supposed to do, and you travel long enough with Lou with System B and stuff, which was not too bad of a system to travel with, because it was.
That was the system that I was talking about. That board, and doing 8 mixes with no EQ. And you know what? Go through a whole show with no feedback.
Yeah, every day. Every day.
All they've done is making it. It seems like they made it. Well, they made it easier. I won't use the word lazy. They made it easier.
Oh, the functions are easier, but the sound sucks.
Yeah. Well, operator failure.
It's digital.
This is Dinky. My whole career, right? Doing places like the Boston Garden, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
On tour. I never used any inserts on my board.
Well, that's the way to go, because you need the natural sound. Forget the inserts. I hated them. Because they create their own sound. If you put a gate in there, it's got its own click sound. But if you just have a mic to a console that you can change a bit of bass, a bit of mid range, a bit of highs.
The only thing I'd put on my mix from day one, the only thing I ever did with my mix was put some reverb, a little echo, and the outboard compressors for the whole sound system, a little bit of compression, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And when you mixed, it was like it was your instrument.
Exactly. You're part of the whole band. You're not whatever artist. If it's a solo artist, if it's whatever, you're part of that whole what's happening on stage. You're creating that stuff.
You have to adapt, and even from one bar to another bar in a song, you're going to adapt to different things that are going to happen.
That is so true.
You just it was like playing an instrument.
Well, that's the whole point of being a good sound person. It's like the light person has to do the same thing with color. We do it with sound, they do it with color and what have you, and light. And
Exactly. People used to say, "What do you got for speakers in the sound system?" I'd go, "I don't know, speakers."
Well,
I never. Some of the stuff I knew, I'm not playing that dumb.
no, I know.
I was more interested in and I found that it doesn't matter what kind of board it was. There's a way I don't care what kind of system. You can find a way to get the correct sound that you want your mix.
Totally. You can find it on anything, even the digital crap today and stuff, because it's there. But if you set the board to just simple stuff, input and straight on EQ without any, some of them flat. I mean, everything I used to use with early days was completely flat. Once in a while, a bit of highs, or once in a while, a bit of low end. But if you had everything flat that was according to the system and the room that you were in, but you have to go into that room and talk and yell and say silly things on stage without the system being on until you hear the sound in the room itself. Whereas these people don't do that today at all.
I used to EQ the PAs with my voice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I used to do that early days until I found a full dynamic tune from Tank, is called, from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That gave me the music I wanted, because the system I built in the first place was a music reproduction system. It wasn't public address until we got to the horns and the separate sound system. Even though there was sound coming out of it from the vocal coming out of it, it wasn't for projection. It projected the sound through pressure, and then come on. When we first started this thing, and I did it at Tanglewood, 5 miles away is I did it at Lennox. 5 miles away is Tanglewood. I drowned Tanglewood out on the first show because I'm pushing air, not speaker. When I put the horns up, I got quality of vocals on a separate PA system, like for the Lou Reed one, but it wasn't projecting necessarily the vocals, even though I got enough horns up there to go 25 miles with 1 watt.
You had a main mix, and you also had a vocal mix.
Exactly, and they put them both together. It was incredible. But the main mix, if you had the full main mix going, it sounded like a giant hi-fi, and that's what I'd invented in the first place, is a giant hi-fi. And then I took that in the channel. Come on, we were using the stuff from 1972 in the channel that continued to 1992. Amplifiers. The only things we never really used is my real front of the house crossovers and whatever. I used modern crossovers for all the people that came in because they wanted to either change a bit of low mids or whatever. But they weren't used to these. I should have done it after the fact. I should have left that original stuff in there and then just used different boards that they could use rather than the processors, because the dynamics were still there. I mean, come on, if you wanted to, you could be loud. Like Man of War in the channel was 140 something dB, and and you heard them because you pinned against the wall from the vocals system. And I says, "Oh, I love that."
You mentioned you had a favorite song after you checked it with your voice. A favorite song that you played, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what mine was?
What?
Riders on the Storm.
That's you.
Because of the dynamics.
Yeah, there's dynamics in it.
The lightning, the thunder, the rain, the sound of the rain.
Yeah, that's true. That's
the low end, the high end. It had all the dynamics. And I tested with my voice, and then I'd put that on to fine tune the PA when you and I were working together all back in the day.
No, it's true. That's how we all did it. Like I said, it was so human. It was just real, and that's what we are. We're analog people. We can't hear digital. We're not made to. We're made to hear the analog. So when these people come in, or to the channel, and they saw this little system in there, they're going, whoa, 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 whoa. Then when they turned it on and we started blasting at night, these guys are going, whoa, I didn't realize how the quality is like a damn hi-fi, and that's all I used to get. Then they bring in these giant systems that were public address for arenas, and bring it in there because we had the facility to do it for them and let them, oh, here we go, you can use your own stuff and do that. But that wasn't the same. They were just blasting people away from this, people were getting really hurt from some of the volumes that they were getting, but not the sound frequencies, the dynamics of the hi-fi stuff.
Maybe because I started out in Pall Mall Jazz Workshop, in R&B and jazz.
Yeah, and so you got the good, nice blend of good music.
Doing mixing in two different rooms.
Yeah, twice. That's right. Back and forth. Back and
forth. But I learned how jazz people approach the sound system and the dynamics that we use and everything. And I always like to just mix it to where I used to use I used to take the limited compressor for the PA, and I used to turn it up plus 10 dB.
Yeah. You give it
and I turned the boards down real quiet.
Yeah.
So you had no board noise.
Yeah.
And I would just, you had plenty of headroom. You didn't have to bury stuff. And you went for the quality of the music and the sound instead of the volume, because everything has a place in the mix.
Yes.
You don't EQ things over other things.
No, you just not necessary.
That's how things get lost.
Totally lost. Like me and you talking on this right now. Every time the phone compressor comes in, you're lost. I'm lost on the other end. So
wait, we're still lost after all these years.
So anyway, we should call it after in another few minutes and stuff. Anything else you would like to add to this little conversation of? I've heard that you said early on that you'd redid this mix and listened to it on your machine, and now you're probably freaked out it was that good.
Well, I get a little. Wait a second.
One day, you were able to rise up and say,
"Little Gladys."
Oh, that's good. But I do hear the digital effect off that machine. I hear the digital effect, but that's okay. I have no problem with that. It's cool, and it's a memory. I still have to find that data. I've got one of our bouncers.
Hey, Dinky, I was talking to Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
And it was probably it could have been before 86. I didn't. Yeah, I was in. Yeah, I did.
86 is when I brought the system in on March 3rd. So it's 86 is when I brought it in with David. Okay. David Wentlin and Larry. David, I'm going to be talking with you at 3:30, and he'll remember, I'm sure.
Okay. Give my love to Nancy. I love you.
I certainly will. I love you too, and we'll talk even more. I'll give you a chat, and we'll see. I want to hear the rest of this tape because it sounds good already.
Yeah, we'll talk it privately. We'll tell the true lies. Okay, bye-bye, Dinky.
Bye-bye, Patrick. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
2 Pints in the Corner. Check it out with Patrick Norton.